Hey, this is Ben Solomon, and welcome to this episode of the Techno Leadership Show. In this episode, we are going to be talking about what does a day in the life of a junior technical person look like. Now, depending on what exactly the role is, things can be different. But for people in the IT, technology, service sort of space, it kind of looks like this. And if you're in a role that is in support, which is usually junior roles, you start off the day, depending on if there's a fire burning or not, by looking at a help desk system of some sort. In most places that I've gone into, I've made sure we've got a system that can create tickets for all issues through email, through apps, and all easy ways of doing it so that end users can do that at all times. They can email us to create a ticket for an issue even when they're at home. Years ago, like when I first started, close to 2 decades ago, the places that I worked at, we didn't have those sort of things. We had notebooks where people wrote down their issues, and then we'd go to the people, speak to them, and fix the issue. And then I had the opportunity to work for an outsourced partner of a major computer company servicing clients in the US from India. And they had a clunky system, but nonetheless, they had a system. We put in details of customers who were calling in and put in details of what we did on the job, all of that sort of thing, which was fantastic. It set me up to sort of think from the perspective of, having transparent communication with the client and also having a record of everything that's been done. As difficult as it is, and as a frontline personnel, when you've got X number of people standing in line waiting for your service, and let's say in a lot of shops or a lot of places, you have one person on the front desk for service desk support, whether it's engineering support or technical support, application support, whatever it might be. You've got one person there. If you're a big enough operation, you might have two people there and then senior people behind them to support them as needed. So when you come in at the start of the day, first things would be looking at your emails to see if there are any requests that have come. Sometimes, no matter how many ways you make it easy for clients to log jobs using help desk systems and email to a help desk system, they still have a tendency to email you directly, and it happens. And look, it's part of the thing, which is why in my recent roles I've had help desk systems that could convert emails from my inbox directly into a ticket, or from my text inboxes into tickets, so that it becomes easier to manage overall. But yeah, first things first would be go in. You usually try to go in a little bit earlier than when your start time is. So let's say your start time is 8 a.m. Try to get there 10 to 8 in the morning. Make yourself a coffee or whatever, floats your boat. Tea, coffee, or if it's another drink, fine. Like, I know people who prefer to have energy drinks, and it whatever suits you. And then go through emails, make sure nothing else is urgent or that needs to get done ASAP. And a lot of roles, you might have certain delegated responsibilities to check systems. It might be service, it might be the wireless network, it might be overall network monitoring, just to check the monitoring system to ensure everything's working. And if there's any other specific things that are proprietary to your business, there might be things that you need to look at. In some businesses that I've worked at, I've had to look at the CCTV systems to ensure that all the cameras were working and all the NVR were DVRs were recording, all those sort of things, basic stuff, ensuring everything's working, ensuring there's no issues with people being able to log in to authenticate to the wireless system, to the network. There are no issues with the firewalls and all that sort of thing. So once you've done the basic checks, you look at the help desk system to start working on jobs that you may have. So depending on the business that you're working for, you might have a rush of jobs first thing in the morning because of issues that might have come up in the evening. Towards the end of the day, people might have sent you issues from home, all those sort of things. You work through them. There are times when you might have to, escalate some of your issues up to a second level person or a senior engineer, or in some cases it's just a technology manager that's sitting above you, to that person, so that they can either assist you or coach you and mentor you on the issue and problem solving so that you can do it yourself the next time. What I've also tended to do, and look, I was pretty blessed in the various roles I had at the start of my career, is I've had good mentors and good coaches and good team leaders, and they would take time to sit with me and work through tickets that I've worked at previously, helping me think through things differently, approach the issue from multiple angles to kind of get a different perspective. And sometimes there is the tendency for people in the technology space to get crowded by customers, and then we feel like we are getting pressure from all sides. But the thing also is looking at from the other perspective, the customer's perspective. They've got all these metrics and KPIs that they've got to achieve, so they are in a rush to make sure they can get their job done, and we're trying to make sure that we can assist them and ensure that their systems are working so that they can get their job done. But a lot of people do not have an understanding of technology and the intricacies of it. We pick up jobs that we think we can fix in 2 minutes, and sometimes it takes a lot more than that. It might take 30 minutes, 60 minutes, sometimes even more. So it's really a difficult industry to be in, but the rewards, if you're someone who is passionate about the technology and the people, this is something that I learned as I went on. You've got to really be passionate about the service that you're providing to the people. Unless you get into a senior role where you're probably working in a data center, or if you're working in the infrastructure, or if you're working completely as a coder, a developer, and don't really interact much with clients. Usual junior level roles, you're the face of the technology department, the support person. You're either on the phone or you're in person talking to customers and helping them out. So bringing in some customer service skills from other jobs that you might have had is a very beneficial start. So you can actually empathize with the customer and see things from their perspective, from their worldview, from their current situation, like what the expectations on them are. So yeah, it is a job that needs a lot of empathy, needs a lot of understanding of how people work as well. So yeah, having that patience to work with them is fantastic. It's a needed skill. So in a lot of those sort of spaces, if you're the only person on the front desk, you'd let your manager know, take your breaks when you can and when it's a little bit slower, and work through those sort of issues. You'd in a lot of workplaces, there are opportunities for learning and training. So when you do have quieter times, utilize that. Try to learn little bits. Read documentation that's there for certain systems, certain process documentation that's there. to get a feel for how to do certain things. It might be, not your job at the moment, but if you're wanting to progress in your career, read those things, go speak to your senior engineers or your manager and get them to, show you how it's done. And also ask them, can I sit with you when you're doing X, Y, Z, whatever it might be? Like when you're building a new server or building a new SOE image, as we call it in IT. Or when you're coding for a certain style of, front-end coding, back-end coding, whatever it might be. Ask them, tell them that you're interested, and when they do have that opportunity, go and make the most of it. Help them as much as you can, so they also feel like they can invest more and more in you. And that's how you learn, that's how you grow. And then, a day in the life, you then probably get to lunchtime, have lunch. And I've mostly found lunchtime in organizations is a fantastic opportunity to get to know the people on a personal level. And as I've gone from technical roles into management and executive leadership, this has played a very important role in building relationships, in trying to understand how things are on the ground floor level, so to speak. And building those sort of relationships also means when push comes to shove, there are people who support you when you need certain initiatives to be supported. So relationships is where everything's at. And even if you're a level, junior support person or whatever it might be, take the opportunity in the break room, lunch room, whatever opportunity you get to speak to your colleagues from other departments, get to know them, get to understand their job, get to understand how they go about their job, and how the technology and the engineering services that you provide can help them. That then helps you empathize with them on a much higher level when they come to you for help. And then, depending on the environment that you're in, you'd again have other help desk work, support jobs, requests that come through, and you work through them through the afternoon. And then in the evening, you might have meetings. When I went into management and executive leadership positions, usually had 2 stand-ups a day, where we had 5 minutes in the morning at about 9 a.m. and 5 minutes in the afternoon at about 3:30, 3:45, depending on how rushed or busy it was, to get a sense of a pulse check, basically seeing were there any major issues. Usually 9 a.m. you get a really good pulse check on what the morning was like, if there were any major issues that we had to deal with, contend with. Do we have to do more work, investigative work on finding root causes of issues, all of that, so we can allocate resources based on that. At the end of the day, doing a touch base with your team also helps kind of get a feel for, have they been able to accomplish their parts in any projects that are ongoing, what they felt like from a support perspective. And when you're a support person, every bit that you let your manager or senior engineers know actually helps us gauge what's going on a day-to-day basis. And then once that's done, usually you're trying to organize for the next day. In junior roles, what I used to do years ago is I would look at what I needed to accomplish the next day I'm in. If there was work that I needed to assist my senior engineers, I would put that as high priority. If there were any tickets in the system that I had to look at the next day, again, prioritize them based on impact that they have, and then pretty much organize that, get myself ready, and then finish the day, and go about doing other stuff. In addition to the normal day, I've at least personally found it beneficial to have some form of routine, either going to the gym in the afternoon or before work, whichever works best for you. Not just from a health standpoint, but also from a mental health and well-being standpoint. I find that some form of activity, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's going for a walk, going for a run, playing a sport, whatever it is, something that gets us out of because the jobs that we do, whether it's in engineering, whether it's in IT, technology, software development, coding, whatever it is, we're mostly using our mind. So using our body in some form really helps that mental well-being side of things as well, as I've found. And your results may vary. I'm not a doctor or anything like that to tell you what to do, how to do it, but having some sort of a routine outside of work helps you perform better while you're at work, and helps you have more energy. And what you eat, how much you sleep, all of these things make a difference. And unfortunately, like we live in a society where most work's done between 8 a.m. and 5 or 6 p.m., which means even if you're a night owl, we've got to kind of shift a little bit and work to that. Unless you're in a senior position, or you are working in a role where you do get to work later in the day. So that's basically it. As a junior person, you've got usually have at least one other person who supports you as a manager or senior person, senior engineer, whatever it might be. So it does help, but also being the front face of support means you do get bombarded, and you need to have a lot of patience. You need to have a lot of empathy for your clients, and you need to have thick skin as well to work through a lot of the things, because of how some people can come across. So hopefully that gives you some idea of what a day in the life of a junior tech can be like, and hopefully I haven't scared you off, but it's also a realistic view of what things can be like, and hopefully you can prepare for that with roles that you are working outside of tech at the moment, maybe in customer service, whatever it might be. It's helping you build these skills of empathy and having a resilient personality and all of that sort of thing, which you can then bring into your technology career and actually thrive in there. So hopefully that's helped you, and if you like this content, please subscribe to the channel. And if you have any questions and something that you'd like to get covered in future episodes, please do leave me a comment under this video, or if you're watching it on the website, in the comment section, or through the contact form, and I will have that covered as best as possible. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Cheers.